Welcome back to Fair's Fair, and today we're talking twists and subversion, as that's what Twitter chose as my next video. I put it to a vote, and this one. I will be making them all in order, though I do wonder if the 2 votes for cats are aware that I wasn't talking about the movie. I am in fact going to make an 8+ minute video just talking about cats. The animal. No, I'm serious. I know this sounds like a joke that I'd make, but it's not. But we'll be talking about what a twist is in not these cats either. That's a different video. Anyway, what's a twist? What's subversion? Why did I ask Twitter of all places for advice? We'll start with subversion. A subversion in storytelling is anything that undermines or challenges values and traditions in art, media, or society. Subverting expectations in writing is to bring in a twist or action for shock value or drama, to undermine what their mind would normally go to through a series of events. There is a right and a wrong way of doing this. If you undermine my expectations, there should be a reasonable way things got there. You can't just say, then Kylo fixed his helmet. 'Cause, what? He smashed it to pieces. Small ones. Then left it on a ship, which then exploded. And Chiefy Palpitations was thrown off a balcony and exploded. On a space station that also exploded. Him coming back subverted all right. The very idea of cause and effect, as well as any established canon and lore, were undermined beautifully and completely by that. Subverting the ground on which stakes are founded is one of those things that rational people shouldn't need to be told makes for poor storytelling. Thus, that one was done wrong. As an example of a subversive character turn, a composed villain who has been on an unstoppable campaign up to a point, always cocky and confident. Unflinching. You can subvert that character by having them, near the end, as all that they worked for starts to fall apart, come unhinged. The way they acted, the demeanor, it all crumbles. They become a screaming child of a person. Not just because it's unexpected, but because they've never known true resistance or failure. This isn't just a thing that happens. It's not how you might expect them to react initially, but it fits the character. There could have been signs, proof that they haven't been challenged properly before, maybe some cracks leading up to it. Consistent characterization doesn't stop events from undermining their mental state and forcing them to have a violent shifting character. But the nature of the events and their previous character will dictate what they become. That's why it usually takes time to build up to things. Subversion does not necessarily equal good, just because you didn't expect it and it was counter to norms. I wouldn't expect the Doctor to save the world by fucking every dog on the planet to reverse the polarity of the magnetic field, resulting in unicorns becoming real to kill Rush Limbaugh, especially if the first half of the episode had nothing to do with any of that. But that certainly would undermine established norms and systems of storytelling. It might also be illegal to air on TV, but I know that won't stop people from watching it, or stop some hardcore people from claiming it as literary genius. Typing one-handed, no doubt. As for subversive political systems, casting themes, narratives, and the like, those have to make sense in the world and be relevant to the story, not uselessly stapled onto the side in the hopes that no one sees your plot holes. In terms of humor, consider the following example. I did some digging, then confronted my grandfather about his past actions, and he had no response. I can't believe I dug him up for nothing. One would expect that I'm asking questions of a living person. I subverted that norm. In doing so, I stayed within the statement, just by reframing the use of the term "did some digging." Even this relatively bad and predictable joke is better than everything in the package, as nothing is subverted. Nothing is unexpected, nothing challenges the norm set in the movie, because they make it clear what is going to happen well before it does, and never opt to undermine what was implied. This is why comedy is hard to write. Now for what a twist is. You know what that is. It's a sudden reveal in a story that changes things for the story, narrative, characters, themes, or whatever. The scale of which it changes things will depend on, well, its scale of effect. This can be done right and wrong, too. The twist of Sheev somehow being behind everything in Rise of Skywalker is a terrible twist. It throws canon out the window. It doesn't so much as line up to the previous stories as it cuts them off, starts its own story, then continues as though it was always part of the old story. The major difference there being that all the connection was added post twist reveal, as well as ignoring some clear and obvious things from the past that I feel like would hinder his ability to be behind everything. But that's not how you do a twist correctly. A twist should reframe the previous information, change the meaning of facts, not change the facts themselves. The fact in Attack on Titan that there are human titans outside the walls, the presumptions of the cast would suggest that there is a group of people titans that are trying to wipe out the last of humanity. But new info twists the narrative that the characters and the viewer were working with. All titans are people, the people within the wall are the ones capable of being titans, and most of humanity is actually fine. The facts of the city remain constant. It's the presumptions they made that were wrong and allows the twists to reframe them. It's understandable how the wrong conclusion was drawn based on the info at hand, too. On the other hand, that whole theme of the force can come from anywhere? Well, I guess not, since we don't have anything that supports that in the narrative anymore. It should make the facts of the matter fall into line, make more sense, not less. Yet also not be excuses for stupid, shallow writing. Remember, there are other aspects at play, not just your twist. Characterization, stakes, pacing, world building, etc., etc. You could end up fucking these things up before, after, and with your twist if you don't consider them. And just because I said the word fucking doesn't mean it's inherently better with a twist. This is the center point I'm getting at with twists. A twist should not deny the established happenings, it shouldn't come out of nowhere. In Pale Cocoon, watch my Hidden Gem video, or you can watch Pale Cocoon itself if you can find it because some fat-ass company is sitting on the copyright and not distributing it. The twist of where they really are is hinted in several images on the screens, and questions get answered. Why would they have a data core without a proper backup? Well, backups are heavy. Getting there would be hard. They say the top levels of the atmospheric system are failing. Well, why wouldn't they have an atmosphere system that lasts until the Earth is fixed? Wasn't that the point of the bunker? The answer, they very much did. Why couldn't they rely on the actual atmosphere before the surface was 100% clean? As surely there would be usable air before the whole Earth is good, right? Well, yeah, that's not really an option for them. The twist answers questions and makes it all make more sense, all while supporting the theme and narrative. The importance of remembering the past so you don't repeat old mistakes, but also so that you can remember crucial details about your history. And just because it's depressing or horrible does not mean that you shouldn't remember it. A good watch, by the way. Everyone watch Pale Cocoon. Legally, of course, because I would never advocate for piracy. The twist also helps rewatchability. In the Love, Death, and Robots shorts, there is one titled Sonny's Edge. Go watch it. You done? No, I wasn't joking. It's short. Go watch it. It takes like no time. It's on Netflix. Everybody has a fucking Netflix. It is one of the most well-accepted abusive relationships in the world today. Okay, from here on out, the spoilers are your fault as you were warned. The twist is that she isn't controlling her beast. Her mind is in the beast, controlling the human body. This not only answers some big questions, but also adds layers to the scenes. Extra parts are now reframed to be more important. Why did she walk barefoot over glass and just not flinch? Is she just that badass? Nope. There doesn't seem to be full pain feedback from the beasts. It just didn't hurt the real her. Why is she so much better at putting her all into the fight? So much better at it? Because it's about survival, A, and she isn't splitting her senses. She's in the body and has no other sets of eyes, ears, sense of limb position, or whatever to distract her. She sits completely still because she isn't actually in the human body anymore. This also explains why her friend yells out to the beast when it gets stabbed. If she was in the human body, then they could have just turned to talk to her. There's also little hints for the twist throughout the whole episode. She has her hood up, hiding the link on the side of her head, and the link is always green, showing that it's active, even outside the fights. Carnivore even moves in the tank, almost in reaction to things. Then at the fight, her crew powers the device off, turning the light red even as it shows the opponents going green. These are little things that you might not see on your first watch through, but would add layers and more things to experience on your second or more times through. Meanwhile, the more you watch the sequel trilogy, the more holes, mistakes, and flaws that you find. That's why they had shallow twists that either make no sense or are beaten to your head so you won't want to go back, like the death of Snoke. It kept cutting back to the lightsaber turning to make sure you got the whole thing early. Done more tactfully, the one on his chair would move in the background and come as a surprise to the audience, forcing you to actually question if he was really fully under Snoke's control. That wouldn't fix much, but it's a start. Instead, it's afraid you'd rewatch it even once and see all the plot holes now that the jingly keys effect of the CGI has worn off. God help you if you watched that throne room fight scene more than once and realize just how stupid everyone fucking looks. Or maybe you'd notice that no one told the fucking department CGIing Exegol that it was supposed to be inaccessible except through Red Skull's hemorrhoids, and they accidentally surrounded it 99.999% with fuck all except open space. It's supposed to be inaccessible, you fucking idiots. Did no one proof watch this? No one who knew what the actual plot was? I know that's a nitpick, but let's be clear, it directly interacts with the story. This isn't a stormtrooper hitting his head on the door, this is a literal vital part of the plot that is displayed to be not true. Also, most stories have some kind of upset to the final act, but they're usually small enough that it doesn't reframe the whole movie. You need to gauge the impact of your twists. If you want that grand reveal or a mystery story, you will have to consider the many ways that will change the meaning of established events. How many theories could fit into the info you're given? If you've provided enough info for the plot to progress, how easy the twist is to see coming, and if the twist makes any sense in the first place. Then there's execution. The spare tower in Rise of Skywalker made no sense as a plot point, but the twist of there being a spare did. You'd want a spare of something important, especially if you had the resources to make it. Then they fucked up the execution by turning the first one off early, and then subsequently forgetting it. Then fucked up the object of the twist by showing that the tower can be on the ships and they don't all have one. The point is, they fucked up that whole thing, but the idea of a second priority item revealed at the end was a reasonable twist. It's just the premise of the object itself, how and when it was revealed, the nature of the revealed part, and the whole rest of the movie around it that was done wrong. But other than that stuff, it was alright. I know what you're thinking, though. Damn, Fair, you and your incredibly sexy toes make it sound super hard to write large and impactful twists into a story. Also, have you been working out? Well, thank you for noticing the last of those 3 observations, and yeah, no shit. Writing is fucking hard. And having a surprise behind-it-all villain requires a lot more forethought. The 2 examples I gave are nice small parts that I used because they're condensed. The longer the story, the harder it is to have well-written big reveals. Your pacing might fall off. You might have too much info, meaning your characters should have figured it out. You might have too little info and the characters are progressing blindly by pure contrivance. Smaller bits might be rewritten and now be contradictory. You might accidentally include an easy fix or weakness. You might forget any number of these things because writing the story takes far longer than the time to consume the final product, and the development can be sort of fluid along the way. We could talk about frameworks, planning, and outlines for your story in another video, maybe. But I hope this has given a functional rundown of twists, their scope, and what to consider when writing a twist. Less scope, less chance of a plot hole, and vice versa. Plenty of people didn't like Steven Universe, yet it had a casual twist that fit perfectly. Spoilers, but it's a video on twists, so get over it. Crystal gems have a core. Only one. They can fuse together when in perfect sync. Garnet is the one with the deepest insight on fusion. The twist has little to do with the main plot, yet reframes visuals and adds depth to the character. And it didn't sacrifice anything in the process of doing so. Tell me, what were some of your least and most loved twists? Tell me in the comments while you like, share, subscribe, and follow me on Twitter. I have a few that I love, as stated before, along with some that I loathe. M. Night Shyamalan's Old had a great twist that had nothing to do with the actions and interplay of the movie's source material and distracted from the personal journeys the movie had been focusing on up until then. Maybe that's why the Big Pharma group wasn't in the source material, because, you know, it was detracting nonsense that had nothing to do with the focus. I know, Mr. Shyamalama Ding Dong not respecting a source material and damaging the story along the way? Unheard of. But if you did like M. Night's The Last Airbender and don't think twists require consideration of the whole story and how they do or do not interact, you can also go to the comments to, at the very least, be entertainingly angry.